AppInit DLLs are pretty similar to AppSert DLLs. They are also loaded at new process creation, and the setting also lives in registry. So let's go to registry to see it. So we go to local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows, NT, current version, and we have to go to Windows. And there you can find AppInit DLLs value, which is empty right now. So to enable that, you have to do two things. You have to set this value with some path, okay, to your DLL. And you also should add additional value called load AppInit DLLs and set it to 1 to enable that feature. And what is interesting is that during the process creation time, it is that user32.dll library which actually checks if this key is not empty, and it will try to load those DLLs from that value. Okay, let me show you that. And for that we will use dumpbin tool again. So let's see imports of user32.dll, and let's find the string AppInit, and as you can see, it comes from it calls load AppInit DLLs, which is exported by this DLL, which is actually the virtual. It's a virtual library, which actually is in kernel 32. So if we go to kernel 32.dll, it is there. Okay, so it's like new process is created. If a user32.dll is loaded, it will check for this key and will call kernel 32 with this function, and eventually the library from the registry will get loaded into a new process. So we can use almost any DLL for that. It's not like with AppSert DLL case where the DLL had to export specific function. You can actually use any valid DLL, and we could also use our implant DLL. But if you take a look at the source code, you will notice that actually, so we call, when the DLL is loaded, we call go function, which will create a new process and will create an implant, right? The problem with that is that with that kind of structure, we will end up with infinite, loop of creating new processes, because when when this gets called, an implant will be created. It will get this DLL loaded into itself, which will call implant.exe and so on and so on. So in this case, so in case of AppInit DLLs, but as well as with AppSert DLLs, you have to be very careful about how you use that functionality, because your DLLs will get loaded into many processes, and if you done something like implement your malicious code improperly, you will get you might just break the system. So let's change our function that it will just return 0 and we just comment this out. If you run some sort of shellcode here, instead of creating process, that should be fine and pretty safe. But again, don't create any processes. All right? Okay. So let's go to RTO to compile, implant, and compile DLL. Okay, looks good. And now the only thing we have to do is to set up those two keys. So first we add a value to AppInit DLLs with a path to our DLL. And the second thing we need to create a new load init key value set to 1 to enable AppInit DLLs. Okay, so if we refresh, we have that enabled. And now if let's say I run process hacker, so our DLL should get loaded into process hacker, and it has actually got injected. Okay, if we run something new, it should be also the case. So implant that DLL got injected. So that's one of the old, it's a really old feature of Windows app DLLs, AppInit DLLs, and currently, as far as I remember, Microsoft discourages of using that technique for like legitimate use. So let's clean up as usual. So we set AppInit DLL value to 0, and we can disable just setting AppInit DLL, load AppInit DLL's value to 0, and we should be good.